Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering Season 56, 3 versus 3 Grand Arena Championship, Week 3. It is my very great pleasure to be joined by my co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, decent week for me. I had one freebie Erodium opponent and two legitimate matches. I even won one of them, so 2-1 on the week. How about you, Dagger? How you doing?
I don't know what it says for the apathy of the average GAC player, but it was kind of fun and interesting slash fun to see my daughter go to win my first two rounds when I didn't have time. So I did play in the finals, and it was a pretty close one. I won by like I think 40 banners, which is misleading because a couple of the fights I did were like easy drops if I had messed them up because I screwed up my attack pattern, right? Like I knew something was in the back and it didn't save anything for it, so I had to use something super chintzy. So yeah, I won by a bunch of banners, but like, man, if any one of like the three fights in that back wall had gone south, I was losing like five fights.
Got you. All right. How about you, TJ? How was your week?
Man, this is one of the reverse times I got daggered.
Ooh.
And here's what dagger means, right? Because if you ever hear it and talk internally PNS, we all know this, right? Real life,
No, no, you
real life.
can't say the acronym for the show like that. You can't
I
say
can't.
it like
I
that.
can't. I'll say it like this because here's what it is. Being daggered as your real life is so hectic that you can't get in to actually do the game correctly or like you want to.
Yeah.
So that's what it's what being daggered is. I'm sorry, it's just what it is, and that's where I got caught. I would have been 3-0. We fought Bebe, so Bebe Patrol and the constant through Comp Patrol. It's the same thing. Completely
Excellent
cheesed the
opponent.
board. Respect. I'm not mad at him for cheesing it. But I ran myself out of time because of meetings in real life. And so when I went to the back, I made some poopies from that because you're just going so quick trying to run. It's like, yeah, this might work. And it's like, it didn't
Yeah.
work. And so I lost because of it. And it's like, there's nobody to blame. It was cool. He went through a strategy. But if I had that at the time, it would have been okay. So 2-1, I'll take it. I just haven't actually, I've never actually daggered myself. And it's funny to have to bring it to that acronym, but 100% got caught like that. Real life got the best of me.
Fantastic. Sasha, how about you? How was your week?
Fun week. I got two legit matches against really good opponents. I went 3-0. And yeah, really I got to enjoy it and sort of play with a level of both kind of like preparation and like I could tell there's some pretty good thinking on the other side that made it a lot of fun. So it was a good week.
All right, good stuff. And Fatal, how about your week, sir?
I actually don't fully remember. I want to say it was 2-1. I think my first opponent just went like hyper efficiency, and it was one of the all too common lately. Do you want to play to win, or do you want to like run these interesting fights? And I was like, you know what? I want the interesting fights. So pretty much like threw that one in the first fight or two, and then the last two matches were kind of unfair one-sided stomps. So not exactly the most competitively satisfying week, but I mean, it wasn't really the focus either. I'm not too fussed about it.
Got the job done. Fair
Yeah.
enough. All right, well, it sounds pretty good overall, guys. It's the end of the season now. We're in the off week here. And yeah, we all agreed here before we started the show that the meta analysis we'll spend a moment talking about later because there should be a little less to talk about since the season mostly solved itself out. But we will cover it nevertheless in a moment. I wanted to have us go ahead and get started on our favorite attack and defense of the week. So I guess it should be me to kick it off. Let me check real quick because I usually stall and do this while you guys are talking, but it makes sense. I think Bane Talon, first of all, this was the debut week for the Relic 9 Talon. Flawless. She died exactly as she was expected to in every Queen Amidala fight. So that was really smooth. And then otherwise, yeah, that's the issue. All the other fights really went to plan. We were pretty clean. We had one whole dropped attack the entire week on ground. and that was doing Afra against BKM Paz Sabine. That was interesting because this is my Afra BT1 000 with a great Kron on it against a team that had a Relic 5 Sabine. And basically, once I realized that Sabine wasn't going to get one shot off rip, we had the opportunity to focus in on BKM and stop her from doing specials. So we used 000 special there, tried to focus her down, almost got her. And then she went and then ended Afra, and it was like, yeah, okay. And we ended up getting around it from there. But that's about it for my attack of the week that didn't work well. But I guess the Bane thing was the only other interesting thing all week. Dagger, how about you?
Yeah, so outside of, Jabba being Jabba and, Queen Amidala being Queen Amidala, it was funny to see my Beck team, just Beck, Mace, Snips, hold 2 out of the 3 rounds. It's amusing because it's like, had nothing left, huh? Right? Like, and then my favorite attack is my opponent set a weird fleet comp, or a weird combination of, like, fleets, to where I had, I had the Empire. What did I have to Empire? I think I ended up trying to Empire OG bounty hunters, right, with the Razor Crest and Xanadu Bloodstart with Houndstooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it didn't go very well. Basically, I'm like, oh, this should work. It works versus triple attacker, and then it's like, didn't chew through Houndstooth. Okay, I guess this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Then IG came in and just blew everything the fuck up, and it's like, all right, well, we tried. I think that was my favorite attack, just because it was just like one of those. I don't want to call it hubris, but it's like he set like a prof and triple attacker and net and Mal. So it's like, all right, I don't want to have to Radis the Mal because I don't like that fight. In hindsight, I probably should have just tried Radising the Mal, because if that had worked, I could have just negoed the the Executor.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is. That was that fight I was saying, like, I lost the fight on fleet. I'm just like, I'm scrambling to do math to make sure that I could still win. Because I did fleet before the back wall.
Ooh,
But anyway.
that is a gamble, yeah. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, because I wanted to know how clean I had to be, how many risks I could take.
Jeez.
But yeah, that's all I got.
All right, fair enough. You actually mentioning that reminded me of a couple of things. I did have an interesting, so a GG Stapp and Thrawn I fought. Specifically just trying to block out Wampa, right? DRBSF Malik took that down real easy, 55 banners. And then twice this week, I fought that Leviathan composition with B28, Sass, and Dagger up front. The first time I fought it, seemed pretty okay. Actually, one of the very best, like, Chimera versus Executor outcomes, like 73 banners. Really, really good. And then the second time, they got favorable RNG. Like, I didn't dodge stuff the same way I did the first time.
Did your TFP get a thermal? Because that's generally how you lose that fight.
I think so. I'd have to. I both VODs I could check, but like.
Yeah, that sounds an awful lot like your TFP resisted the thermal in the first fight.
Well,
and the second fight he triggered Sass.
That may be the case, but I've heard that being the reason that you can get choked up when you're fighting the other more typical Leviathan compositions, and that's never really cost me, I think, in the same way that I got blown out on this one. Because I got lapped
you got
about.
Those poopies. I got
lapped about. So I thought it was really interesting because when I went and filtered on the results for that, I set up the comp the same way, and they take a full complement of reinforcements, right? That's going to be Darth Maul ship, Scimitar, Palpatine shuttle, Mark 6, and who is it? The tank. No, sorry, Fury. Fury is the other one. And yeah, when I check that out, it's like 37% win rate for Chimera. It's disastrous for Chimera.
Yeah, so I have a guy that has that in my arena, and the hard fail condition is if you get a thermal on your TFP.
Why? Why is that specifically so damning?
Because TFP takes his turn and lets their 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 Dorito dagger, whatever, jumps the line on the turn order, and then their tank gets to jump the order as well.
I think you're
But then
right,
they
and I think
also-
it's even worse than that because I think Vader also got jammed up because I remember Vader
Yeah.
going ahead of Vader needed to attack before he needed to dispel is what I'm saying. That's the situation I got myself into. And then the other ships we were out of phase. So yeah, definitely getting thermaled, getting dazed had something to do with it, but it was I've been thermaled. I've been dazed before against, other compositions.
Yeah, but Fury doesn't punish you the way Dagger does for that slow
No,
start.
yeah, I frickin' believe you.
Because Fury doesn't do any
believe you.
damage. Yeah, because if you actually look at it, Fury is a product of keeping your tank alive longer
Mhm.
and stalling the fight out to get the ultimate. If you're looking for damage, Fury is not in the equation.
Fair. Very fair. Okay, TJ, how about you? Favorite attack and defense of the week?
Folks, I want to make sure I just comment this out, right?
Please.
And this is how I know Bebe is a friend of the show and watches. So
yeah.
he put the BKM team in the back wall. Your setup, the whole thing like that. And you know what's funny that kills it? Still wrecks the shit out of it? Sear. Monster Quick, I just saw it 100% when it took it, and yeah, that was really cool.
Just
but yeah, so it's like,
down.
yeah, man, it pushes it. But it was cool to see the fight because I really had to figure out what I was going to invest, and Sear just pummels the shit out of that. So that
really
was
quick
cool.
question: really quick, is Sear the best Triple Omi character in 3v3? Is that Sear team the best Triple Omi team? Like, not Datacron dependent. Like,
I know. I'm trying to think it out, and probably so because it doesn't care about turn meter. It you try to do insta kill stuff.
it's also
probably
basically a 3-man team.
That's what I'm saying, right? I'm thinking about it. And it's like, especially when you put Cal, the intensity right now, and then if you add a Kron, I probably say it's one of the best because it can hit literally up to a GL, so Ray or something like that, and then down the line of almost anything you try to throw at it, it has a measured account for, and especially in GAC, that Malicos ramp is so ridiculously strong. You're just waiting, and you can't revive, right? So it feels like the most Swiss Army secure team that's out there. So yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it's a high banner offensive team that beats everything that's not a GL pretty much, and some GLs.
Yeah, I mean that feels confident. So
anyways, it was just a thought I had this week when I was
I
on
think
defense, and then when I pulled it for offense, I'm like, man, I'm just looking at my opponent's board. It's like, this beats everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of the best. All right, so and then favorite attack, and it's not going to be GL stuff like that. I was telling the team about it, and the one thing that was the favorite was I got to pull the ship twice with Starkiller. Coolest damn thing that I didn't get to record. It was against Saw, funny enough, and what else made this cool is I watched Kyle literally from 100% protection, and I don't think he was debuffed, but took my Mara Jade completely dead. First hit, he wound up deleted. It was the coolest shit I had seen, right? He pummeled with you could see that there was the debuff applying, right? So all of these things went into play with Saw, with Krex, and then you had the big bomb from Kyle. Coolest shit watching my was like, where did my Jade go? Why doesn't she get to play the game?
I also hear tell it helps to not have an R5 Mara Jade.
Ooh, yeah, that is tough.
No, mine's R7, buddy. So you might want to check that one again. But
I just know that you're a pro boy. So I just assumed.
Damn.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, but let's talk about time and Portum. So when we're looking at this though, so watching that delete was cool. So watching the effect of the Kron, but watching my Starkiller come back, pull the ship, and then there was I think 2 people left, and I got to pull the ship again. Coolest shit I've actually seen. I've only seen that on Reddit or some people posting on it, but I didn't get to record it. Otherwise, I would have said, let's watch that shit because it was cool as fuck. It was only a minute and 15-second fight. It wasn't long, but watching pull ship, and everybody's dead, it's like, yeah. I tried it again round 3, and no, I played it correctly, so no ship pull.
I need that GIF in my life.
Just the ship
of him
pull?
pulling the ship. Yeah, Starkiller pulling the ship, them not being dead. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2, Electric Boogaloo, pull ship again.
Yeah, I've never gotten to work that out, but yeah. And I was like, oh man, there's a 2-time ship pull. It's like, bitch, you thought you were going to live? No, here's one more ship for you.
Very nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All right, Sasha, how about you? Favorite attack and defense of the week?
Yeah, so as I thought about it, I decided to go with a little bit of a recurring theme on this one. So the first was an attack in an earlier match of mine, which was a little bit of a learning for me, and it was around the strength of Morgan Elsbeth, I think, and the potential there with some Night Sisters. And this was I faced an Asajj, Morgan, and Spirit squad. I think it was Michael's. It was really well modded, right tank relic and everything on Morgan. And then I brought, never having faced it before, I thought of a few different things. I'd seen a different comp that I brought Iden against, but this one I decided to go CLS, Han, and Chewie. And I have, just kind of for context, I have a ton of respect for Spirit as a character. I think it's super cool. It's one of the rare characters still left in the game that can ignore defense, and I've always been a huge fan of the defense stat. Like I've always gone for defense secondaries, even before Datacrons, and now I'm just a huge believer. So the ability to just take damage mitigation off the table for a character that like when well reliced and then gets offense benefits off of Morgan's unique, gets 30% offense from Asajj leadership plus double it like 100% offense with starting with foresight. I was nervous about it, but I'm like, okay, perfect. CLS Han Chewie, that's the way to do it. Just blitz out of the gate. I brought an attacker cron, and so it's like, all right, these guys will just be going all day. Like literally, I get a bonus first move where Han goes twice, then gets to go again, calling Chewie, who gets to go twice, and it's like, all right, Spirit's out of the game, and then I'll whittle these guys down. But the clause in Morgan's unique, which is like effectively as good as almost any like most 3v3 leaderships, that says the first time that a Night Sister falls below 20% that they get stealth, they get Morgan's 20% defense, but they recover, all Night Sisters recover 30, or that Night Sister that's impacted and Morgan get 30% health and protection at 30% turn meter. So I just laid into Spirit. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Spirit's definitely dead. No. Like I got it close to red, but then it heals back up at 30% health, 30% protection. And now Morgan's taunting. I was incredibly lucky to be able to get through it. I didn't get through it on one shot. That was just because of RNG around targeting. And I say that because like so much respect for Spirit on this. Like Spirit got to go once, targeted my Chewie, hit it for like 145k, and Chewie sitting there in the red. Spirit got to go again, and I just got lucky with targeting. I have no tank or anything. My Chewie's just hanging out there. Of course, the other two, thanks to Chewie, Han and CLS, both have guards, so there's no critting that can happen. And from one reason or another, Spirit targets CLS twice and like hits him for like 50 something k, 60k in non-crit twice, but he's able to survive it. And I'm able to take the thing down. I'm able to get it out. But I came out of that, like, first of all, like thinking I was really lucky. That was not a good comp to bring in. I underestimated that unique, and just totally loving Spirit. So that was the attack that I enjoyed the most because it was eye-opening and like cool validation on Spirit. Then favorite defense. My favorite defense was a leaderless one that I set, which was an Acolyte, which I was all excited about again because of Morgan's unique. I took my Acolytes to, so yes, I went with the Night Sister Acolyte lead, and I took her to like R8, and she's loaded with like defense just to make her thick. Morgan, who I sped up to like 350 something.
Nice.
It's leaderless, so there's no extra 30 speed. So there's perhaps some vulnerability with Bad Batch there because you can see an Echo get ahead without an Asajj tells and leadership speed bonus. And Spirit is the third. And Acolyte lead for no reason other than like, okay, if Morgan goes first against like a Darth Revan squad, who I heard a bunch of people mention, you can just take a DR and junk against this. If Acolyte is stealth out of the open, then sure, they can get Morgan, who will taunt. That will fear Acolyte. But Spirit, because you weren't able to fear the leader, Spirit's there and can one-shot stuff. And I got a couple of holds. I don't know what it was against. I haven't seen the data yet. But actually, I do know, I think Michael had mentioned one thing he tried was just Talzin Night Sisters. And he said that they just lit it up. And there's a decent amount of health recovery under Morgan's unique. So that star of the week for me, or the most interesting character, was Night Sister Spirit on both offense and defense.
So I was going to say, the couple times I've fought that team, It just seems that if she isn't like super fast, if Morgan herself isn't super fast, then you just crush Asajj and then just, kill Spirit when you can and then deal with her, Morgan last. But you would have been the first one I would have seen that would have been something like 350. So that's speed sets?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I speed set on Morgan. I've got her, decked out at. Let me take a quick look. I've got her decked out 354, so that's a plus 169 speed. I did that originally thinking I was going to throw Asajj, which gives you
Yeah.
30, and so 384 you're getting out ahead. And with the Omni on Morgan, like whoever she targets. She's taking their turn meter to 0 because she also inflicts stagger along with mass assist. So I did it also thinking it could be cheeky in that a really thick acolyte, which a high defense tank cron under that was bringing my acolyte like up to like 83% defense, and it's like you can't get to him. She's got like decent health. Reality, I'm sure I'm overestimating it, but it just seemed like a fun new toy. So yeah, that was my good time.
No, that's a good one. Thanks for sharing it. Fatal, how about you? Favorite attack and defense of the week? You may be on mute and not know it.
I am on mute.
Aha! Welcome back.
Defensively, I don't know that I have anything too interesting to say. It was just one person cheesed and, got like a minus 29 banner split, and then the last two people could only clear half my board, so it was just kind of, I don't know. It was, again, just not a very balanced week either way. It was, defensively, kind of whatever. And then that offensive fight, I would say, is the last fight of the season. They could only clear half my board, and I kind of I fought the cheese person because I was like trying to be responsible. I'm like, oh, I have to hold Ray so I could kill JMK Padme. I just said screw it and just started like posting pretty much everything I could, with the exception of like I think I could post at Eternal and Treya. Don't ask me what I'm going to use against like Gideon. I don't have an answer for that, but I mean the answer might exist. But it was just like I'm approaching the point where it's like, okay, I'm posting the hardest defense possible and I'm still not getting holds, or the hardest defense that I can think of possibly.
Yeah.
I'm still not getting holds, so I'm just like. I kind of entered screw it mode, and that's where I got those last two matches of the season where they just only cleared half my board, and then I just cleared the other half that didn't have JMK on it. But that last battle that had JMK, I did, I killed the 9 ground teams and ships and got my win. And then it was like 15 minutes left in the round. I was like, I don't know. I got some teams. They're not going to beat this JMK, but fuck it. I'm just going to throw stuff in. And sent Starkiller with a Vsauce crown and almost won.
I actually saw that. That was it. I don't know. But I could see where it's like this could go somewhere. You know?
I'm not saying it's real.
Yeah.
But there's a spark there, right? There is at least enough that it's like, because this was 0 foresight, 0 prepper planning. I literally just like I brought Darth Vader and just like
that
threw
was
Merciless
so
Massacre
cool how you
immediately.
handled that. I liked that.
Well, DV Starkiller for me has always been like I don't remember where, but I saw like a whole bunch of different places of people like, man, Starkiller versus Rey hasn't worked in like a year. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, Holdo, sure, I get that, but I was like, what are you talking about before that? And I realized it was probably because Rey was on the evasion crons, what the deflection crons, right?
Ooh,
And so everyone's like, well, Starkiller can't beat that. But you just flip from EP Mara to Darth Vader, and like, nah, man, we do physical in this house. Like, no, you're still dead, and we basically just, right? I mean, like this year more than any other year feels like a year where if you just like, if a team says, haha, I have infinite crit damage, and you say, yeah, but I brought roughly 100 crit avoid, what about that? They don't really have an answer. You're just kind of fighting a vanilla team. And if a Rey says, haha, I have 100 deflection, and you say, I don't do special damage anymore, they don't really have an answer. And so Yeah, Darth Vader Starkiller is something I pretty much always kind of kept back pocket since Starkiller came out.
I
But
do actually appreciate that they're doing that with crons, though. Like, there are ways to solve these crons, even though they're obnoxious.
While we're talking about Kron specifically with Darth Vader Starkiller, though, if you're like me, you might get the idea in your head of like, ooh, there's attack or double attack.
Yeah.
You're doing Merciless Massacre. It's like already a bunch of attacks. And then I can like re-attack on the Merciless Massacre attack. And then Starkiller can re-attack on the re-attack on the re-attack.
Oh no. I know what you're gonna say. What's gonna happen?
Yes. You press basic once, and then he automatically basics again, and that's the end of Merciless Massacre.
Oh no!
Yeah, it breaks it. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, that's actually fantastic.
That is forbidden. That is the
those
forbidden.
Stupid, oh, that didn't even think of the interaction, but the moment you said the attack again, I'm like, that doesn't sound like it works. And then you confirmed for me, like, man, the amount of rage I would feel if I did that.
I slammed that shit like week 1, day 1 of this season, and Merciless Massacre ended immediately. And I was like, no, I'm not winning this
Man.
I'd be so fucking mad.
Intuitively, it makes sense, but man.
Yeah, no, it's not intuitive. You had to
longer.
sit there and think about it. You had to start pointing it out. Once you took me, on the journey from A to Z, once you got me to about B, I was like, oh, I can see C coming.
Yeah. I just I thought about the fun parts and not the meat and potatoes of like, hey, yeah, but that cut just goes away the moment you push the button. It's not until end of turn. But anyway, so yeah, but the whole point of what I was trying to say with this is I brought Darth Vader and like I spent a minute after that fight looking at the Sith roster, and I don't know that there are actually any Sith right now where if you're like, hey, I'm going headhunting for JMK, get me the best Sith possible. I'm not saying Darth Vader is good there, but I'm like increasingly not convinced that you could do much better. Like I'm probably just gonna try Malak next time and just.
The only two that popped into my head are Maul and Sidious. Because Sidious has like an infinitely stacking lead. And then Darth Maul offers like evasion. But yeah, Darth Vader is probably just the best because he gives the extra offense.
I basically did nothing with his turns. So if I tried Darth Vader again, I could actually save Merciless Massacre until the time where I went for the kill window. Or I'm just going to try something like Malak and just try to get 3 drains off and just tax him out that way and see if that doesn't put me in a better position to win.
Okay. That's a good
But yeah, I don't know. That's it was a cool little Hail Mary kind of sign of life out of nowhere that is entirely probably reliant on Visa's Kron and so will not exist in 3 months' time.
Okay. Well, that seems like a natural transition into our next section then, gentlemen. We're kind of combining for this week meta-analysis and our predictions for the next 3 versus 3. So just briefly about meta-analysis stuff. Not a lot of broken ground, not a lot of new ways to handle the same teams that we've seen this month. But just a quick note here on Queen Amidala. I did get to debut my Relic 9 Talon this week, and not that makes a big difference over Relic 8 in terms of efficacy. Like, I think you'd still win the fight either way, but just having that extra little bit given over to Bane, I was happy to have. It worked exactly as planned. Talon died exactly as expected, exactly when needed, and we just clobbered everything for like 55. It was great. But I know Dagger had a point that he wanted to bring up on this, fighting Queen Amidala.
Oh, yeah, just the support Kron giving Pow just a bajillion extra damage. Yeah, I don't know. There's already a failure rate with Bane versus QA, so I don't know how much this was one fight I watched, and Pow just kind of like... It was Bane's set, so again, it goes back to the other guy didn't die fast enough, right? So, again, I don't know how much of this was the same problems that Bane has when you take Malak or Set and they just don't fucking die. Because, they dispelled the taunt, and then Pow just killed Bane. Right?
Mm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how much this falls within the window for the natural failure rate of the matchup versus how much of it was the actual Kron difference. Because I've fought the Pow Kron and I fought not the Pow Kron, but bulk with Galactic Republic in 3v3, and the Pow Kron is just like head and shoulders above the other Kron because of the true damage. So I don't know. It's probably better than like the bulk Galactic Republic Krons, but yeah, I don't know if it's better than the actual like Pow Kron overall.
Alright.
But I think it's a reasonable replacement.
Yeah,
I've actually
yeah.
been running both this season, and set 16 has easily outperformed set 15.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, like I
What's
said,
the
I only
details
had like
on
the
that,
one
though?
sample, the
Sorry,
sample size of
sorry,
exactly one. So I'm glad that you have more than that. So I'd be more than happy to hear about your experience.
Yeah, no, it's I can't rule out the possibility of player skill issue. But let me. I should have the insight link.
Isn't that always
No,
the
I don't
problem?
think Insight's updated yet. I checked it.
No,
earlier.
not for week 3, just for the whole season. For
Oh,
week
sure.
3.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, I'm posting it. But basically, the idea is, like, you can open up the matchups, and you'll see, like, when he, not that Palcron didn't have some successes, but, like, you'll see Bane beat my Palcron, didn't beat Size 16. But I do think that a part of it is, part of what makes set 16 interesting to me isn't necessarily just the power crit damage. I think it's multifaceted. That I think Amidala with the level 3 amp ag effect is actually just like really, really juicy, and probably one of the more sleeper effects of the set in terms of how much that can really check you.
Mm-hmm.
The percent damage level 3, right?
Yeah, the 2% max health.
Yeah.
No, that, like, okay, consider this. If you make a decoy, and Amidala has a GAC Omicron that says, you hit this decoy, you get 2 debuffs. That's 4% max health every time you touch that decoy, on top of how many buffs and debuffs they generate, the fact that those buffs are creating debuffs that also are taxing you, and it really just creates this extra layer of, like, you're just in this attrition fight, and they're just boiling you. Like, if we were in a cheese meta, which we're probably about to be, actually, if not
It feels
this
like the
5v5
pendulum's
season,
going back that way. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not this 5v5 season, if it's next 5v5 season, I think Amidala Amplify Agony will fairly easily justify itself just because of the potential banner tax that it can represent. Just constantly poking you with this. I know 2% doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm really trying to convey the sheer amount of times that they hit you with it, that it can check you. And then
And there's plenty of debuffs on that team to boot. I don't think it's that big of a stretch, really. I think that's a really good.
That's what I'm
idea.
saying. They naturally generate a lot of debuffs, and then you have the decoy natural debuff, and then you have the set 6 or the set 16 level 6 provided debuffs to boot is just it comes together really nicely. And then so yeah, you kind of have this multi-pronged, like, if you can manage to get your defense up pretty high, that I swear half of set 16 theory crafting starts with, okay, I did this, like, I got this really cool thing to work. And people will be like, okay, show us the crown. And then there's going to be at least a 200% defense behind it, probably. But right, it's just a little bit more versatile and a little bit trickier, I think, than Palcron, which is, still dangerous, but kind of a more known quantity at this point.
Yeah. This is the last gasp, right? I mean, certainly for 3 versus 3, we have it for this next 5 versus 5 season, and that's it. No more set 15. So.
Well, yeah, and I do share your thoughts about if not this set, the next set, because we have a pretty good idea of what the next set's going to hold. They've already said Night Sisters, and I think it's pretty fair to assume we're going to get Rebels or Rebel Fighters because of Luthen, and it's also pretty reasonable to expect us to get Empire, Imperial Trooper, or Imperial Remnant because of the 2 new characters that just came out. I know that What's His Nuts just got a Kron with this set and the Attacker Kron, but it's an Attacker Kron, so maybe they give it to us next set, maybe they don't. But yeah, just like Fatal said, anytime they put defense on Krons, my immediate fear is that we're just going to enter this like cheese meta or efficiency meta over again, because it's like, how do you kill XYZ with 350% defense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Bulk
good
at
one.
least had the side effect of you have it on offense and defense, whereas don't get me wrong, defense is great to use on your offensive teams, but the value of it is much higher on defense because it tends to block out counters or really punish people trying to go in cheap. Whereas the bulk does something similar, but it's just on offense, especially on a level 3, right? It's just like, all right, cool. I just have every team just has this now. Not
Gotcha.
every team's going to have 350% defense.
I only have one super high defense cron out of the whole set 16, and I had to re-roll my ass off for it. But it is a banger, though. It's like 388% defense.
I can actually go check mine. I think my highest is like 210. Like my highest is like not high at all.
I put love into it, I won't lie to you.
I believe you.
Yeah, yeah. Now, our last specific meta-analysis point before we start thinking about how we'd be handling the start of the next 3 versus 3 is just on Gungans. So we won't be coming back to set 15. And when we come back, are they still on defense for you guys? Or are you looking forward to trying them on offense? Because I feel like the benefits granted from the shield generator are kind of like a cheat code for several matchups offensively. But there's still probably a lot of merit in maybe at least like a top wall presence for that team on defense.
Well, it's a natural predator for teams that have insta kills. Like if somebody puts Trey on defense, or
Yeah.
somebody puts like Jabba on defense. I was watching some of the CP guys using it pretty effectively on offense, and watching like Arnold use it versus me, because somebody sent me the clip. I was like, oh, yeah. See, this cron didn't really matter, just because Jabba couldn't kill them. Like they don't take thermal damage. They don't get instantly killed off of his ult. Right? Like, so I, I I I think it's highly likely it'll be on offense. And I know I mentioned pre-show that in 5v5, these Gungans are going to be able to use the support cron pretty effectively between Boss Nass and Jar Jar's debuffs, because they have Booma and Tarples on their team to like stack the offense and do a bunch of shenanigans. In 3v3, I wonder how how the support cron, like it's 2 support plus a tank generally. Maybe if you put an attacker there, but it's like most of Boss Nass's damage is from health percent. Most of Jar Jar's damage is well, Jar Jar doesn't do that much damage if I'm being honest. It's mostly just chip damage over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
Right?
but that support long text with the max health damage level 3 for frickin' Nass. The wrath of Nass shall be upon you
Yeah.
all. There will be no
Yeah.
peace. The jowls of death and destiny.
Well, it's definitely hyperbolic. Like, it's definitely yeah, Tass is a Boss Nass believer, but didn't pull a 330 like a bitch. So
It's true. I did
obviously
not
Boss Nass
pull
does not love
Lucky
him
on the
back.
pack. It's true.
Yeah, so obviously Boss Nass doesn't love him back. You just know that's an unreciprocated love or unrequited love. No, but all jokes
It's
aside,
both. It's both. Yes.
all jokes aside, I think Gungans will definitely be worse next 3v3 on defense, but how much worse is to be seen.
What do you guys think?
I'll say, I mean, the typical way I would play something like this, and I may reserve them for offense, but is that they'll still have meaningful value in week 1 of the next season, 3v3 or whatever, until it's figured out. People will probably bring the same types of counters. And I actually find there being value in anticipating what somebody's going to use, because it helps you set up your back wall. And so they feel like week 1, a bottom front team, and quite possibly off the board week 2 and 3, enabling you to bring over like perhaps a GL to defense, when you can probably, like you said, just kind of game the system a bit with some of the mechanics around Gunkins. You know, if they can take out a Jabba really cleanly, and not all of us slyly looking your direction, Fatal, can one shot a Jabba with our Night Sister. So like me not being comfortable in my ability to do that, I can see Gungans being my go-to.
Fair.
I think it's pretty simple to say, like, one of the key ones, right, that I think everybody's using one form or another. Tash, you were a big proponent of it, was Padme. Padme has such a strong Kron. This time that's gone. But the other team that's still there, and I still think will be relevant, and I think what it'll become, is the new Traya staple killer. Tuskens, generally hold that weight of like, well, they're going to put Tuskens on defense. Everybody knows that Tuskens is the way, but there's more counters figured out for that. Whereas Traya still has a strong place to kill Gungans. Whatever set you try to do, because there's only 3 of them. So to what Dagger said, I think is relevant, right? They obviously have a lot of variants. So what Sasha's talking about is true, but when there's only 3, no matter what you try to do, you can't put the big punch behind what Traya can just deflect, right? Be it the Savage lead, be it the Traya lead. That when Dagger talked about the strong 3-team combo when it comes to Omis, strong 2, Traya. Traya still is a safety net in so many things, especially in 3s, because Traya Savage is a monster combo. Defense or offense, you have to account for it. So if I had to guess, it'll become like a Traya staple. It's like, I don't know what to do against this. What's going to be something strong enough to take this out? And Traya, with the least amount of things happening to you, can take that damage.
Dig that.
Another thing too is, as it was said, because they, like, and Sasha mentioned this too. Depending on what your opponent's planning to use against it, there's a lot of, we'll call them cheap things that could beat a triple Omi team next 3v3. And I don't know how much you want to trade your triple Omi team for somebody's 0 Omi team, considering it's, the board is 30 teams and we have like 8 GLs, and do we have like 10? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, man, if you're letting your opponent use a team that they might not otherwise use to beat your Gungans, that's just not a place I want to be in.
If I had to guess, and I know you have it on the list, I know Gungans are there, and I understand why they're the unknown, because there's with the 5s, they full power of the 5s. Man, Gungans are going to be awesome. Their RNG level of it's nothing to kills a GL because it death marks or whatever it's going to do that's going to be crazy. It's cool because that support's going to make those things really hurt. Especially Torpals with his slaps are going to make monster damage. And 3s, and I know it's on the list to talk about. To me, it's Queen. Queen with Qui-Gon and Pow, as Fatal said, he alluded to it now, but even more so when there's less competitors to come out and catch it. Man, Queen with those super supports to that Pow hit, because he is just so strong, man. And the cool thing is, we talked about it early on when Qui-Gon came out, and I said this because Dagger and I were talking about it. Qui-Gon has multiple ways to build and does different things, because what people don't talk about, and Fatal did, is if you build that the damage man, you build Qui-Gon as your damage dude, and it still supports setup, Qui-Gon will beat the shit out of you, flat out. He's such a good character and so really built into this team. For a team of 3s, man, she's the one that scares me. As far as you, Dagger said it too. That's a 3-man team. It's just like with Seer, it's like those 3 are monsters together. You can't mess with it.
It's going to be a sad day when that team gets a 4th or a 4th and 5th.
You shut up. You don't do that to that team. The team is special.
No, I know, but it's just like Traya kind of got a 4th with Savage, right? Like, I'm just saying they're eventually going to give it a 4th, and then it's going to be better in 5s. But there's something I don't want to say romantic, but there's something interesting / like fun about them actually having like teams, maybe not designed specifically for 3v3, but being designed to be a 3-character unit, right? Well, like Seed, DLS, Han, Chewie, the Triumvirate, right? Like, it's always interesting to see them kind of try for 3v3, if that makes sense.
And it's pretty cool. It's based on the movie, at least, right? It's pretty damn cool to see thematically. It holds weight, right? You have the dude who's the powerhouse.
But I take your point.
But that's it's cool though. It's like seeing it, and it's like, man, that's your childhood relived, and it actually holds how strong they actually are.
I also don't want to live in a world where the Queen Amidala team isn't good, because holy shit, is that team like power crept. Yes. Like, the 3-piece is so fucking good, even without the Kron. The 3-piece is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like how you had Dash Vandor L3 a few years back that was supplanted as one of the
No.
weakest teams on your
Oh
defense
yeah,
by, Resistance Hero Finn, Finn Poe or
yeah.
whatever, Nest Finn Bros, whatever, and then now that is supplanted by something like this. Like, I mean,
Well,
even
none
if
of
it
those
even
teams,
if it isn't
none
the
of those.
apex performer that it has been with set 15 gone, I think it's definitely a defensive staple.
None of the teams you listed were ever a top 3 defensive.
No, but in terms of your concern about power creep, this is definitely
I
way
wasn't. No,
better
no,
than
no. My
any
concern
of
wasn't
those other
about.
teams.
No,
So
like
I feel like it'll always be all
my,
right
my
on
my
there.
problem was less about the power creep and more just like, man, can you imagine a world where Queen Amidala isn't like? Can you imagine a world where Queen Amidala is a mid team?
It's just true.
Right?
It's such a complete team. So I
Yeah,
think
that's what I mean.
To Dagger's point, we're talking about you can throw in some other, you can sprinkle some other characters. The only one that comes to my mind as a GL level is Leia with R2 and Drogon. It's
Mhm.
so complete. And here I'm going to spar some things, and you have such a big faction like Galactic Republic. It's like I'm going to go pull this. Beck doesn't work there anymore. Let's put Beck in here. That'll be fun. Oh,
Mhm.
Cam could be good here, as Fatal talked about. Ooh, we're going to put Cup. It's like, yeah, I have a full team. What kind of sprinkle do I want to add? And that team
Yeah.
is just so complete that it's just added seasoning to what is an already beautiful dish.
Who's ready to get their booty holes pile driven by Cup?
And man, that's gonna be so wild, just wild.
It will be humbling this coming
Yeah.
season. That's what it will be.
Who's ready for that?
One dagger, one cup. It's not two girls.
Yeah.
Ooh. I understood that reference. All right. That's actually the end of the written agenda there for about meta analysis. What other matchups or what kind of situations you guys looking forward to seeing next 3 versus 3? Turn your thoughts to the future. We have some yet unnamed, unknown set that will be with us. So
I don't
based
even
on what
care
we
about
do
that,
know,
dude.
what you got?
I'm so excited for Remnants. That
Oh
if you want
yeah,
to talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
so awesome,
With the
dude.
Super Troopers,
Dude,
man,
it's just so good that even
gross.
like doing Morgan and doing that event, I was like, man, this is so goddamn boring. Man, I'm so tired of doing the Morgan. But coming in every day, I have so much fun playing with the Pooper Troopers, and you're getting a nibble, the big bangs and all that. It's so cool.
The new Death Trooper like reminds me of my boy, where he just like throws himself on the ground, prostrate, right? Like he's just like no.
Yeah, you got
Oh
one
my
who's still
God.
got temper tantrum, one who's
Yeah,
drunk
just
as shit.
absolutely fantastic. The animation on this team, the animations for both of these new troopers are just A plus.
And they're just they're just so like high caliber damage, right? It's like how much damage am I gonna pack in? And they have a great combo pack of you put the debuffs, you have a dude who works off the crit damage, and then it's like, where did all the characters go? Man, it's just fun because it's turn 1 death. It's just great.
Are we going to be scheduled to have Enoch by next 3s? Is that something where we're going to have that the full
we're going to have
complete
both
Night
Enoch
Sister?
and we're going to have the new Night Sister trio and Enoch. I believe
every 2 weeks, buddy. Just take every 2 weeks as a character. So I would probably assume that's safe.
Okay.
Worst case, we get it during week 1, and we'll have it for weeks 2 and 3.
I mean that tracks, right? Because as you were saying earlier, Dagger, we're expecting Night Sisters in the next Datacron set. So
they already said we're gonna have Night Sisters in the next Datacrons. Yeah. I think we're also expecting Remnant and Rebel Fighter.
I would expect that. That's pretty safe.
Just a quick kind of aside. We're all planning to just start. We're just gonna slam Luthen with like Kyle and like Saw, right?
I mean, the support. That's gonna be nuts, dude. It's already nuts with Screx.
That's basically our plan.
I don't think it's groundbreaking to say that Saw is much more interesting as a defense than Mon Mothma. So yes,
especially with that cooldown reduction and the fact you can't stop it from happening. Really, that tracks, man.
That team is also gonna be so fucking fast.
Yes. And that summon trooper is a manly man. Do not get it twisted. He's not some ability engine, boosting everybody else. He actually kicks ass on it.
And then are you saying he looks like he's straight out of a Chuck Lorre TV show?
He is just like diving in out of a chopper like a madman.
He's Charlie Sheen before the Tiger Blood.
I am telling you. When he just like firebombs everybody, he will create a sunless space. You get that?
If we're talking about it, if we're talking about the sisters, because it's what 2 weeks, so we've gotten Peridia, so we should be getting the next
I
Night
think
Sister
reading the Night
setup.
Sister. I think reading the Night Sister woman first, because that makes a little more sense to me.
Those sisters, I'm interested to see what the Great Mothers do as the triple threat.
I'll bet each one has a very unique. I'll bet
And
every ability that they have, basic, special, and special.
I
are
think
just
they're gonna be
super
really
unique.
cool. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
they've just been nailing these kits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want to see it, I've seen Elsbeth in action. I know Sasha talked about it, and I think it was a smart idea. She in her setup right now, that ability to get the frenzy going and watching how fast that hits you, knowing what Spirit can do. I don't think people understand when she's in action how strong Morgan really is. She's obviously not getting the full thing, right? We're not getting the full, but I played her with a good setup on a good defense cron, and she was a monster to get rid of. I overkilled it, obviously, because I had the ability to do that. But watching how long it took me to take her down with these defense setups, she is built really well. And can sustain a lot of damage and has the speed to back it up. So watching all of that with that frenzy tie-in, I could imagine you putting the turn order correct with these mothers, and then it just bam, bam, the amount of damage coming in, and then the mothers go, and then that back to back. I think we're going to be surprised at how well this holds with just this set, because we're getting the characters so quick right now. It's like the last year setup of we had ships coming at the same time of Galactic Republic. Well, now we have the other character coming in, the confrontation character coming at the same time of a Galactic Legend. And we're getting every 2 weeks. It's like clockwork right now. You know a character's coming, get ready for your vault, get ready to buy your character.
We still have 3 more marquees left this quarter. And
Oh,
we know 2
dude.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that means we have an unknown marquee, and we apparently have a chase as well.
Yeah. So it's just I think people are going to sleep on how like Morgan didn't look good at all, in my opinion. The remnants looked and felt amazing, and it's already off track. I don't think people are going to understand, and I've called it before, and I know Sasha called it, and I think it's great. Spirit was a monster when Relics first came out. Spirit was starting to delete characters because of the fact you could hit under. I think people are going to. I can imagine fighting Sasha, because Sasha will do some tricky shit, as he did to me with Tuscans. I'll never let it go. Sasha, you will sit and die on your Phoenix thing.
Hold on. Doesn't Spirit ignore defense?
Yeah,
That's the key. It's ignoring defense. That's right.
But there's so much foresight and the frenzy.
It's funny because if you guys remember, they went out of their way to remove everything that ignored defense from the game except
Spirit.
Yeah,
right.
But she's such a glass cannon, and the fact that you get the foresight and get to start it off, that building with Morgan, I'm even on a 3v3 team, I think we're going to be sitting here talking about it next time it comes around with those Great Mothers and Morgan and Spirit, and go, shit. Man, I got deleted.
There's obviously speculation. But I wonder how good these Night Sisters are going to be next 3v3, because I think you're going to be able to get 3 teams out of them.
Ooh, I think amazing if true. If that's like, I mean, certainly, just like how we had that 3-way resistance split for like the life of set 14, I could absolutely see that being the case. Yeah,
we're gonna have Krons, is my point. So if we're gonna have Krons, I could. That's why I said I can't speak to the future, but I think we're gonna have the Great Mothers, and we're gonna have Night Sister Krons, and I think we're gonna have like, you know, right? Remember when it was with Initiate had her Kron, and she was just like 1v5 in GL?
Yeah, it was so cool, man. I never built it, but I was so jealous when it did with Heinz and everybody do. Watching it take out, like, it's just like watching it come in, and man, she just kept popping you, and it's like, no, just use this. This kills Jabba. It's okay. You'll be fine.
I saw Tass recently took his last Night Sister to Relics. It's about goddamn time. But yeah, I definitely took all my Night Sisters to R7 in preparation for this next set, because I don't like Night Sisters. I think. Well, let me phrase that. I don't like the old versions of Night Sisters. I think the Infinite Revive was cheesy, bad game design, and toxic for the game overall. These new Night Sisters, like, I love that Morgan says that they can't revive, because now it makes interesting gameplay exist for Night Sisters.
I'm going to tie it, or I'm going to see Tass. Tass will BT1 2.0 his Spirit. I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
Tass loves modding. Watch Tass with his Spirit. And then also the one who's not talking right now.
Funny
that
you
I will
mention
be
her, because she's actually hot on deck to get my next Relegate. Yeah,
but I will call it the Night Sister Godfather, Fatal, who has done so much.
Not here.
Yeah, that's this guy. This guy who can't have a daddy. It's okay. But Fatal, what will Fatal do with it? Because like I said, nobody was really chilling on Jabba until Fatal came in along and said, no, this is possible. Look at what we can do. Same thing he did with Treya. He's done it with other things like that. This is killing LV, who lives on debuff. It's like, so watching what this team will do, I'm excited to see how people are going to mod their spirits and see what it's like. Oh, no, this is taking out full under pressure JMK or something else that's just ridiculous. And the only other piece I'll end with, too, is Dagger's right. I didn't even think about the Kron setup, but these Krons are really good for the Night Sisters, as is. These level 6s with the tank, with the long, the support that builds up because there's so many supports, the attacker twice, like that spirit doing. So it's like that combo pack of what does it have? I didn't even think about that, but yeah, there's a lot of utility from both sides.
Elfin's unique that applies the plague. So she's going to be doing all that, like, debuff spreading, debuff inflicting with a support cron.
That's true. Yeah.
Because it's technically her unique spreading the plague. But yeah, that's what. Like I said, I'm also excited for Night Sisters just because, like, it's a faction I've historically disliked, and they're going to be playing fair to a degree now, and I think that's going to be fun. It's the same reason Jolie's fucking AIDS, right? Like, we can all agree that Jolie's like terrible.
Man.
Right, but now here we are with Jolie and Barris on a Ray team where, like, you have to kill Barris twice, then Jolie twice. Like, I'm not looking forward to this shit. I'm just gonna slacker that bitch. Like, I know we're not talking about 5v5 in this one, but like, I'm just pointing out in general. It's like we didn't need Jolie to be better, guys. We don't need this revive bullshit to be just like. I get that it's gimmicks on Krons, but can we just like not make teams infinitely revive? Because that's annoying.
Oh, I guess that going back, and I forgot about that. You said favorite defense, and that's the one we dacked about, and then Dagger walked into the room. It was like the JML with the Jolie and the Xeris, and like we didn't even talk about it, right? And it's funny because I was like, yeah, I'm talking about putting JML on defense, and so he's like,
well,
like,
yeah,
I guess you're gonna do. And I'm like,
hey,
without even talking to him, I was like, yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. That just that is an absolute STD. That is an absolute fuck you. Yeah. So like that was probably my favorite defense because it got 5 holds round 2 because I knew there was like you're just not ready for it, and if you let one thing slip and let Jolie come back,
easy fucking team.
But it's if you don't have the right thing, it is the ultimate toxic setup, and it's just
Well, guys, any other notes you wanted to throw in here on your thoughts about the next 3 vs 3 season when we wind back around?
Remember that Bulk is gone, and even though we don't know what the next set is going to be, this will come out while Conquest is still going. Make sure that you pick up some Krons for teams that already exist. Because
I think that's safe.
Like we talked about a few teams where like these current Krons we have are going to be pretty good on them to certain degrees. So do some. We don't really talk about this enough, I don't think, on this last episode, but there is some amount of prep that has to go into the next 3v3 during these couple weeks in Conquest, because you may have to develop a Kron or 2 for a specific team you won't use in 5s that you will use in 3s.
That's a good idea, For any of your stalwart teams that have been on defense, that have been using set 15, take a moment and consider how you'd like to see them set up next season and plan accordingly, farm accordingly. That's a good one. I mean, we can go ahead and kick off the final thoughts then, and I mean, that's fine, Dagger. Did you have anything else you wanted to include for the people?
Sure. No, I was just thinking just like strategy in general. That wasn't meant to be like a 5-up.
No, because I was literally saying that was like last call for that segment, and that seemed like a pretty reasonable transition in here towards the end of the line. But do you have a final note for the people? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a really fun in between episode. We're gonna have a lot to talk about. Holy shit! And man, I am really looking forward to 5s because I think this is. Fatal mentioned earlier. I think this is one of the last 5s we're gonna have for a few months where defense is gonna matter. At least, like, traditional defense is gonna matter. Where, I mean, there'll obviously be like a Datacron or 2 that matter, but yeah, I really like this last 3v3 months meta because it wasn't overly cheesy, it wasn't overly toxic. A lot of the super toxic teams were like 4-man teams. So you couldn't like do the Ray, Ben, Jolie, Xeris thing in 3s. right? Like you can only do so much with these like attacker support crons, and I look forward to what we can do with them in fives. Like I said, like trying out the support cron on Jar Jar, or as Fatal said that the support cron is already overperforming on Queen Amidala, right?
Yeah.
It's I look forward to all of this stuff because it's we we really do learn a lot from 3v3 with the first set being 3v3 because we get maximum reps, right? We have more teams. We have this, that, and the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I, I've been really enjoying Datacrons recently, and I know we talked about how we like them a lot, and I hope that everyone else has been enjoying them as much as we are.
Very fair. Very fair. How about you, TJ? Your final thoughts, your last word for the folks at
I
home.
think it's one rip to SOK. He did such a good job with this set, and that was he was the ultimate either destroyer of worlds, and that's now gone. We all can be sad with the SOK that went away, as well as Padme. I think
You
there.
get to enjoy
This
it
is
for one more season of fives. But yes, pour one for the homie Slacker who will not be as
same thing
powerful
for
come next
dude. Same
phase.
thing for Padme,
No,
right?
no,
Padme was
Slacker has
so.
the attacker cron. You can eat shit. Slacker's
It's
gonna
not
be
going to
fine.
be.
God,
It's not as
dude,
powerful as
no, I'm
his first
sorry.
move deletes everything.
You
Fight
swipe
ends.
when you swipe, people fade.
That's it.
It's like
Yeah.
literally Thanos.
That's
He's
just
Thanos
gone.
winging you.
You were
Yeah,
there,
it's what
and
did it
then you
cost
are
you?
dust.
Everything. And if you get it on defense and you couldn't take care of the timing, you were gone. So it's like
That's
he was
right.
the ultimate Thanos snap. Let's not twist it. Yes, he
That's
had
right.
attacker, and that's cute and that's fun. That was the leader of worlds, right? That's I'm sorry, man. That's not even
Effective,
that's
yes,
okay.
but not nearly
So-
the same raid boss.
So anyway, so it's like pour one out for the SOK, who was the man of mans in threes. Yeah, he'll be it in
Good.
fives, but yeah. The other thing, I think Dagger calls it very well. Prepare yourself for what it is. Prepare thy anus for what may be to come, because you just never know what it's going to be. And especially when we get to threes, man, we're going to be back to the frenzy of oh shit, new set, get ready to deal. And whoever's caught up will have the goodness, and then we'll have the good new characters, and I think we'll have the good new teams. So for sticking 2 threes in that theme, just prep is going to be key that you go in, because we're going to start seeing the fruition of what all these characters are going to be, and I think the defense is going to look readily different than anything we're seeing now. And I also want to echo the sentiment from Dagger on specifically the defense did feel strong. Defense came back in a way where you could try to do the cheese, but it just wasn't strong enough because you could get messed up. So seeing the defense was a key thing again was nice. It did feel good again that it wasn't this cheesy bullshit of just this. You can actually put things on, and it's going to hold. It's going to do something different to you. So I'll leave it for that.
All right. Well, that's good. That's a good one. Sasha Aisha, sir, how about you?
Yeah.
Your final thoughts, your word for the people.
I still feel pretty good that this current set 16 that will stick around for the next 3 years brings a good amount of defensive viability. I mean, I know some people can then just perhaps slide even further towards cheesing on their own to be more aggressive on offense. But I'm excited for that thing to stay. And I guess one like little side note that I'd add is I'm going to be curious to see, this is a small like kind of corner case, but with Inquisitors have been really pretty cool and dangerous for like 3 Datacron sets now, where they've had something directly applicable: Empire, Ufu, and Inquisitorius. And I was wondering, I'm just going to be curious to see if next 3v3, if they finally have a season where they get pretty marginalized. And I do think, I mean, there are some pretty interesting things that set 16 can do for them. But I mean, the bummer is, they spread debuffs like crazy, but I guess you could, I think it's Fifth Brother as a support. So you could potentially have Purge that he generates stack crit damage for everybody. But just bringing it up because I think as you just sort of watch the cycle of life of a lot of these different factions and squads, that it'll be interesting to see if Inquisitors take a step back.
No, that's a good one. I appreciate that. Fatal, sir, your final thoughts, your word for the people. What you got?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing I'm going to miss from what hasn't been mentioned yet is set 15, and what I'm really looking at set 17 to try to fill
Mhm.
is Crit Avoid. Like I said, I think 2024 so far has been the year of crit chance, and it's not only crit chance and crit avoid, but those stats especially. There's just CG has been pretty deliberate about printing characters with holes in their stats that they. I mean, I don't know if it's what they want, but at the very least, the kits are signaling, "Hey, if you build it, you'll get something extra out of this character."
Hmm.
And when it comes to dealing with set 16 and whatever gap set 17 is going to have to fill for me, I do look for Crit Avoid to deal with how much support cron shenanigans have been going around.
I see.
I mean, my solution to Saw teams this season. It's actually probably overkill in some ways, but I would just slap Trail Lead with a Crit Avoidance cron just because Kyle Katarn has 55% base crit chance, and people very rarely even take him past like 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And so just kind of understanding the lay of the land of how many characters are kind of trying to play the crit game right now that their owners might not be doing due diligence to ensure that they can actually try to tap into it. I
Mhm.
think presents an opportunity, and that's probably something I should explore more next season, especially because I'm going to be sending a lot of extra characters to defense, probably irresponsibly.
Very fair. Very fair. I believe you. I've seen plenty of it just this season. For my part, I am panic farming, guys. With the Night Sisters coming in the way that I expect them to, I've been preparing these weak ones. Dagger already called me out that TJ observed that I'm thinking about Spirit. Like I'm preparing them in the background, but I'm recognizing that I'm a little tight on my crit damage and offense mods right now. But actually, worse than either of those is, in fact, crit chance. And as Fatal mentioned, I do find myself being a little pressed for crit chance. I actually have great crit chance secondaries on a lot of my
You a
health
bum.
sets. I
You a
use health
bum.
sets in their place. Even so, I'm getting taxed. I just don't have enough of them, so it might just be easier to go straight for crit chance mods themselves, balance myself out, right the ship. So I say that to the folks at home in the sense that if you are going for the Night Sisters, consider that you've got them, decently well set up. I hadn't spruced mine up in literally years, so worth taking a look at. And if you're not going with them, check on the teams that, like we said, the ones that you were using that were stalwarts of set 15. Think about either A, the set 16 cron that you think is going to make that kick and go for it, make sure you have it, or think about who you might be looking to rotate in, and if you have any modding related holes, this type of off week, this moment that we're in right now, is when I do all my panic farming for a specific character. In this case, it's like 3 Night Sisters that I'm like gobbling different kinds of mods to put
Well, if we're
together.
talking about
So
gobbling and filling holes, I can, help you out with that.
I'm
I
sure you
got
can.
something for you.
I'm sure you can. Yeah, man, the number and the fury of the low blows that are just like that are
But you
ticker
won't,
taping through
because
my
you won't
mind
stoop
right
to
now,
my
man.
level. You won't stoop to my level on the podcast, and I know that.
Man, just you wait till the camera's off, you son of a bitch. All right, but yeah, that's about it for you. Sorry, go ahead. You had something to say?
Oh no, I was just gonna add on that when in doubt, these new marquees, take a trip to Tasnix's cheap crystal emporium, and maybe look into getting a remod while you're there.
That guy.
It's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
re-record at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Sneak it in at the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. That about wraps this one up here. Before I go ahead and do the sign off, we have to acknowledge the other content creator in the chat. Fatal, give yourself the plug. Where can people find you?
Yeah, twitch.tv/PlaybookTV towards the last hour of each GAC round usually. And then, yeah, doing kit reveals and, whatever interesting stuff CG puts out to discuss. I'm usually streaming it.
All right, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I know. I know you said you were thinking about eventually going back to starting making some YouTube content. Where are you at on that?
I got kittens, and so
Yeah, so that's just
I,
completely foobarred for the foreseeable future.
I mean, I'm trying to just spend. I'm burning my free time with them in the
You
early
have to
days,
love the
just to try to
kitties.
spend-
You
Yeah,
get no argument from me.
I'm building bonding. I'm laying the groundwork, but I'm also, I mean, yes, I am trying to set things up now. A, so that I can childproof my office so that they won't kill themselves in here. Because right now, it would be easily done. And then B, making sure that I'm using the time where like, okay, they're very clearly just like asleep. I can sneak away and do what I gotta.
That's
So
fantastic.
I'm not setting any promises yet, but it's definitely at the forefront of my mind. There's a lot that I want to do.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's definitely not sooner than, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months from getting to the top of the stack at this point. Because I know what kittens are like with that, so, yeah.
I promise nothing, but I think I'm gonna swing big if I do swing.
Dig it. We will
see.
keep our
We'll
eyes
see.
open. All right, guys. Yeah, so if you want to, for all the folks at home, if you want to catch me live, twitch.tv/Tassinix. Of course, the Plotting and Scheming podcast is found here on my YouTube channel, Tassinix Gaming. That's also uploaded to Spotify, repeated out to Google Podcasts, and also I found that I had a really let me shout him out actually because this guy deserves it. He did a public service here the other day. Had a viewer, come on now, where is that? Schnookums popped into my Twitch chat the other day and said, he'd love to catch Plotting and Scheming on Apple Podcasts, but they made it such a bear for me to get done. I'd pretty much abandoned the effort. And he pointed out that, if you guys just take the RSS feed link, you can actually look that up in your Apple Podcast interface, plug that in, and listen to the show there. So I have pinned the message on how to do that in the general channel on my Discord. Check that out if you're interested. Appreciate you guys following the show. But yeah, also on the YouTube channel are some other, Solga-related content you might be interested in. My Datacron set videos on sets 15 and 16. I make those with Aesop Rock, one of the very best players in the game. Of course, we'll be making one soon, very soon here for set 17. Looking forward to that. I also have all of my VODs from my previous streams uploaded with chapters added for easy browsing. It is the full length of the VOD, but you can, click right through and get where you're trying to go. And then, of course, I do have the mod guide videos. You guys started requesting those a couple months back. I'm going to keep them on going, covering in-depth on individual characters and their teams, and how I think's a good way to get them set up. So really appreciate you guys' interest and positive feedback on that. It's been very encouraging. Thank you, guys. And of course, last but not least, if you love the show and you want to support what we're doing over here on the channel, first, I did create a Cash App because some of you requested it, so you can check that out. That's, I think, $Tassinix is how that is. And then, of course, we do have the Patreon. So check out patreon.com/Tassinix. For any upwardly mobile GAC player, there's something there of interest to you. $5 a month gets you in your foot in the door to the TAS house. You get the early access to Plotting and Scheming, dedicated text and voice channels where you can usually find me lurking. Also, early access to the Datacron set videos. Can't forget about that. Thank you so much to the supporters here. Andrew, Arj, Brock Thudsteel, Deadpool Cow 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Ray's Malbus, Renee Bebe, Sam Vimes, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens14, and White Wolf. Stepping up to the VIP Access Plus tier, that's the $10 a month bundle. That's patron access to me and to OmegaBot Patreon. So if you like those detailed scouting reports I do on my opponents at the start of the stream, that's a patron level feature to be able to take more than 2 weeks of history and build out that custom report, get a powerful at-a-glance sense of your opponent's offensive and defensive tendencies. Thank you so much to Stryker and Esh Sotnikam for taking that offer. And at VIP Access Premium, $15 a month is the Double Bots bundle. So patron access to me, OmegaBot, and to Hot Utils, the premier tool for your mass loadout and inventory management. Go through all your mods, switch loadouts between, TB, TW, Grand Arena, just a couple of clicks. Very powerful stuff. Thank you to Quig, Ibenek, Sir Boss, Funky, Focus, and General Milan. At the top of the heap, in Jester's Club Elite, is Nomad's Reaper, the one, the only. This guy will pop into stream from time to time, drop hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, just goes crazy with it. Really appreciate the generous support, my man. All right, and last but never least, our special thanks first to Yoda Force, one of my original supporters from way back in the day. He got me the mic I'm speaking to you on right now. Though he has long since quit the game, we remember him fondly from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you so much for helping out in the background, keeping our daughter out of my hair. Well, what's left of my hair. There's really not much left of my hair. But keeping her out of what's left of my hair while I try to be halfway decent at a phone game. So thank you so much. And of course, to my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. A pleasure and a privilege to make this show with you gentlemen on a weekly basis. I really appreciate that you set aside the time to get it done, and we do get it done on a weekly basis. I love what we're doing, and it keeps getting better. I appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. All right, and we come back over to the main scene to say it's been a pretty cool season. I do think that it is, I think we're saying it now in a few different ways. The pendulum does feel like it's swinging. Like we've been enjoying a season and a half, maybe even full 2 seasons of defense feeling real. And now, I mean, here it was. This last week, I dealt with a cheese player, very good efficiency player, but a cheese defense, no GLs whatsoever. And he's been stomping all season like that. And I expect we'll be seeing more of that in the very near future. However, we'll be having a lot of talk about how we're getting ready for this next episode of 5 vs. 5 here come next week. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care.